I did it. I finally did it. I quit. And it wasn't easy. I worked at the electronics retailer. And they asked me, what can we do to get you to stay, Iceman? And I said, I guess you could pay me more. Stay a little while. So they said, well, we can't just increase your pay without moving you to a different department. So we're going to have to move you to a different department. I said, okay. So they moved me to a different department. And they paid me a little bit more. So I prolonged it a bit, maybe 2.5 months, I think, roughly is what it was. I worked for an additional 2.5 months. And at that point, I was done. It was cooked. I just thought of the freedom that I had and that I potentially could have always and ongoing. And then I thought of how I was standing there behind the counter, being a slave to this big corporation. And I remember those assholes walking in there. The regional team. Yeah. Remember them walking me through, and one of them said, oh, no, this is the guy who had all these numbers up, when they were referring to me. And then the other guy was like, oh, yeah, he was kind of acting. Like, I don't even know if he knew about me. The other guy did. Because I was doing really well in the region. In fact, I was the top sales in the region. This is a big corporation, dog. Known throughout the world. Yeah, not even kidding you. One of the guys was a real asshole. I remember that manager of mine. You can kiss my ass. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really hung up over that anymore. Honestly, I feel kind of bad for the guy. I mean, he's just a bitch to the machine too, you know? And yeah, he exuded his power over me a little bit, but he knew I wasn't going to put up with it. I remember I didn't take much at all from him. And I even articulated to him how much of a piece of shit he was. All right. And I think he was confused. He was like, well, wait. Iceman is under me over here. He was only part-time. I was only part-time. He's like, Iceman's only part-time. But still, they're working me 30, 40 hours a week. I didn't want to be full-time. Who the hell wants to work 40 hours a week? And that's one of their arguments. They're like, well, we could hire you full-time. I was like, I don't want to hire you full-time. I was like, can you just pay me more and I'll work part-time? And they're like, well, we can't even do that unless you're full. We're going to have to move you to a different department. But I remember that guy. He wasn't the top dog. He was just a middle manager. I mean, I'm not, you know, I feel kind of bad from that. I don't really care about it. You know, I'm just reliving it almost. I mean, I was in a different mindset back then, a different perspective. Remember that asshole trying to get under my skin once or twice. And that's when I said, because you had to do this thing where you go hang out in the break room and type out your experience with the management team. You had to type that to the regional management and all that in the corporation, HR or whatever. And usually I would just like skip that crap if I could. And I asked them, do I have to do it? They were like, yeah, you have to do it. I was like, okay. So I went in there and I was like, I typed about how I'm about to quit in 2 weeks. This one guy's a real asshole. Everybody talks about him, how disrespectful he is and exuding his power for no reason. Remember, I was just typing this stuff out. I didn't even give a shit. This is crazy. You guys aren't going to believe this. But I remember I said in that freaking email, I said, if I were at any of the other stores, they would have treated me like a god, is what I said in this email. This is going to HR, right? And it said your management team wasn't going to see it. All right. So I was just kind of going hog wild with this shit. And yeah, I was a little petty, but I didn't really care at the time. I said, I am putting in my 2 weeks this very day. And I did. And I said, and I'm quitting because so-and-so is very disrespectful, this and that. I can't remember the exact words. He's a real asshole to everybody. And my numbers are higher than anyone in the region. And I'm a part-time employee, and my numbers are better than all the full-time employees. And he tries to exude some power. I think I think he was a little confused. I think he thought I was going to try to like get in the management team or something. I wasn't going to. I didn't want to be in the management team. You know, it sounded like a pain in the fucking ass, but it's probably the only thing that made sense to him. He was like, oh, Iceman's going to try to get on the management team, so I got to exude my power. I got to try to chop him down to size. I don't really know. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense, because why the fuck would you be disrespectful to a guy who's the top performer in the fucking region? And they weren't even comparing it to other regions, so we didn't even know how well I was doing compared to the other regions. But I know that in my region, like everybody else was here, like the top dogs, and I was like way up here. I'm not trying to brag. That's not what this video is about. I mean, I'm not even in sales anymore. Not that kind of sales. But you see what I'm saying? So I said in the email, my other store would have treated me like a god with the numbers that I'm doing here. I was like, I'm the top guy in the region. Look at the numbers. That's why the original team came in and they were like, oh, this is the guy. I was like, oh, really? This is the guy? Oh, yeah. But the other guy was kind of making a goof about it. Fucking asshole. I'm not bitter. I don't really, I mean, this, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. This is a while back. All right. But let me finish it with that just real quick, because what's crazy is then the general manager of the store, the big dog, right? Not the guy under him who's an asshole, but the big dog. And we're in a competitive area. He called me up. He said, hey, Ice, man, I got to see you. Middle of my shift, he was like, yeah, I saw you put in your 2 weeks. He's like, man, we need you over here. He's like, man, you see those numbers? And that's when I did the whole thing where, okay, I don't know, you guys pay me more. He said, oh, okay, we got to move you to a different department. He said, okay, I'll go to the different department. And then it kind of spiraled out because I got out of there anyway. But what's crazy is that guy, what he said, I'm not messing with you guys. So you got to be cautious with this whole HR thing with your companies or whatever, because this is a big ass company. I mean, I'm sure he would have just lied to me if I tried to pin him to it. He would have bullshitted his way around to where, you know, you couldn't really prove it. But he really said this to me. Because remember the email I said they would have treated me like a god if I had these numbers. What he said to me, he was like, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I mean, your numbers are just crazy, you know. I worship you, Iceman, is what he said. And he did this. I'm not fucking with you guys. Like he really did that. He said, I worship you for what you've done here. Like, it's like, come on, man. I mean, you must have read that fucking email. Or those guys, they came, those guys probably talked to him. You know, those regional guys, they probably talked to him. And they said, hey, look, he said in the email, he would have treated him like a god. They probably got a little, like, what the hell? Like a god. He was like, oh, I got an idea. I'm going to go like this to him. You know? I mean, I don't know if that's what it was all about, but I mean, it seems highly likely you must have seen the fucking email. Can you guys give me your 2 cents on that in the comments below? Do you think he saw that email? He wasn't supposed to. It said your general management team would not see these surveys or whatever the hell they called them of like employment satisfaction or dissatisfaction. It was only supposed to be seen by the HR. And the guy literally did that. The GM of the store. All right. I mean, on one hand, I thought it was kind of funny. But on the other hand, I was like, man, that's embarrassing. I didn't realize you guys were going to see this shit. You know, and then I thought about it. I was like, oh, shit, that asshole that I am saying I'm quitting because of, which wasn't really the truth. I said I was going to quit because of that asshole because I just wanted to get under their skin. And I wanted to get out of there and them to be pissed at him. You know, I was going to quit either way. It wasn't really because of him. I just didn't want to be a slave anymore. But I figured, hey, if I'm going to go out of here, I'm going to go out with a bang. In that sort of sense. And I'm going to do this for the team because nobody liked that asshole. So I said, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm the best performer in the region. Look at the numbers. I'm only part-time and I'm outperforming all the full-time people in all the stores. Fucking crazy. And I'm leaving because of this asshole. You know, so I said that in the email and, I don't know what happened to the guy. You know, if anything, I hope the best for him. You know, I don't really care at this point. But I just thought that was fucked up. You know, why would you do that to me, man? Did you see the numbers I was doing for your store? The fuck? It's just odd. He must have thought that I was going to try to move up into management or something. So he saw me as like a competitor. I don't really know why else he would try to get under my skin. But I didn't put up with it. I mouthed off to him and I just turned my back to him and walked away. Thought he was a fucking asshole. And I was going to quit anyway. And I wasn't, he wanted to see if he could scare me or what. He wasn't going to scare me. I didn't give a fuck. And normally I wouldn't do anything so petty. You know, normally I wouldn't type it in the other, oh, I'm quitting because of this guy, because he's an asshole. You know, normally I wouldn't do that, but I just figured, I was like, okay, if I gotta fucking sit here and do this, I told him I didn't want to do it. I said, okay, I'd rather just work. You know, I'd rather just stay on the floor and work. Do I gotta do the survey? They said, yeah, you have to do the survey. Don't worry, you're gonna get paid for it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do the survey, and I'm gonna be fucking honest. Kind of. Aside from the part where the reason I'm quitting is because of this asshole, you know, because that wasn't, he is an asshole. There's a lot of truth in that email, but the reason I quit was because I just don't want to be a slave anymore. But I didn't tell him that for reasons mentioned. But anyway, all that, you know, happens. And then I'm working at the other department. They're paying me more. I feel kind of bad for doing it. I shouldn't have done it, but I just left anyway, you know. And I always put in my 2 weeks is what I did. I was never one of those guys who just like bails, you know, it's just fucked up. Come on, you guys got to put in your 2 weeks. It's common courtesy. But that's what I did. And I remember I had $800 in my bank account when I became a hustler. Now, my situation was unique, all right? Because I did make smart choices. And I think that's a lot to do with it. I made some bad choices. I went to school and I blew money at school. That's finally paid off, fortunately. Wasted time in college. From a guy who didn't want to work for anybody anyway. You know, that's kind of the problem is, it would have made sense if I went to school wanting to get the diploma or certificate or whatever the hell you call it, certification to kiss someone else's ass. But the problem is I didn't want to kiss someone else's ass. So what the hell am I going to school for, you know? It didn't make any sense, but that's what I did, and that was a mistake. Willing to own up to them. That was dumb. Who knows? Maybe I got some perspective. I don't know. I was a fucking leech for a while. Living in the dorm, living off loan money, just working out all fucking day. You know what I mean? Going to the gym with my dogs. Yeah, it was a good time, but I could have had a good time doing other things. And I didn't have to go into crazy debt over it. Well, that's the past. Water under the bridge. I had $800 in my account. But like I said, I made some okay decisions as well. I didn't have a car loan. All right. My car was worth like $2,000. I bought the thing with cash. Back then, that was a lot of money. This was 2007 or something when I bought that damn car. But I was living with a hottie. All right. And she had a little bit of money. So I had opportunity to have very low bills and try to become a hustler. You know, now that didn't last long. And got up out of there. But nonetheless, and blessings to her. You know, blessings to her and her endeavors. I don't know what the hell she's doing these days. But blessings to her and hers. I was just young, man. I mean, I was 24 years old, 25 years old. And, but I had $800 and I left the company and I didn't have any credit card debt. Bought one fucking thing with the credit card, but never looked back. I paid that shit off and it was like, never again. Why the hell would you buy something with a credit card, you know? Oh, you can get points. Yeah, that's one thing if you just pay it off every time you use it, but I'm not looking to build credit. I'm not looking to buy anything with credit again. I have one debt, and that is this house that I live in, which is valued a lot more than what I own on it. Thanks to the market and everything else. And all this fucking inflation, I guess, is the one way that I've benefited. Is this house is vastly increased in value. And I got a long-ass mortgage on it, too. I've got a 30-year. I can't remember when that was. I refinanced it with a 30-year again, even a couple years ago. But I don't give a shit. It's the lowest payment, and it's the only debt I ever intend to get. No cars. No fancy vroom-vrooms, you know? What a fucking waste of money. And all the new ones are cheap plastic. Even their engine, their transmission is like plastic and electronic. It's fucking crazy, man. They're asking $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for these damn things. What a fucking waste of money. I have a Toyota 2005, 2006 Sequoia / 4Runner. Two of them. All right, one of each. My wife drives one and I drive the other primarily. I drive the Sequoia because there's headroom in there. I'm 6'4". Tall guy. Not really skinny either. Check this out. Ah, look at that. See that? Tough guy. Tough guy, tall guy. But the Sequoia is the way to go. See a lot of little moms driving them. There's like 3 feet of headroom above their heads. And that's how I knew it was for me. I was like, shit, look at this. This chick has like 3 feet above her head. Now the 4Runner's a tight fit. But people make bad fucking decisions. Do not get the new plastic pieces of shit. Do whatever it takes to get a couple grand and buy yourself a car. All right. Or an SUV, depending on where you live. Get a freaking Toyota Camry or a Sequoia or a 4Runner or a Land Cruiser or one of those Lexuses if you want. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, even get a freaking Toyota minivan. One of my dogs has a Toyota minivan. Things like 2005. Drives like new. Both of mine have 240,000 plus miles on each. They drive like new. Original transmission, original engine in each. All right. But damn, was that a good idea? Get the fuck out of there. I don't know if I would have done it. I mean, there's a lot of things I could attribute it to. Like I said, some of my ducks were in a row. All right, I was living with the hottie. So I didn't really, I helped with the rent and shit and the internet because I like the internet. I was playing Diablo. But you see what I'm saying? I helped with some of those bills. But I got to sit back and consider. You know, I was working part-time at the job. I was sitting back and considering. All right? And I was observing. And she was a hustler. And that might be part of my inspiration. I don't know. I was like, oh, really? You don't really have to work for somebody else? Are you kidding me? She was like, no, I just do my own thing and I get clients and I make money from them. They just give it to me. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, I don't got to go like kiss this guy's ass every day. I just started thinking about it, you know? So thanks to her to an extent. But I mean, that's kind of the way it all went. And my goals weren't very high. You know, all I wanted was to get something to eat, if you know what I'm saying, or a couple things to eat. And have my own place, no roommates. So that's what I got. And now I upgraded to a house. I guess I stumbled upon this deal. Video's getting too long. I'm going to cut it short. But that's what happened, man. Let me know where you guys are at in the comments. Do you want to be a hustler? Do you feel like you're a slave right now? Do you want to be free? Subscribe to this page. Become a patron. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace be with you.